How are you, Razor?
Gary, welcome back.
Good to see you, young man.
Likewise.
Hello, Ray.
Topical that you're in here, as you are each and every Tuesday night, or Wednesday night. What is it?
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. So last week I was away, but the CEOs had their meeting, and out of it they sent a memo to the clubs for umpire contact, which all of a sudden has become the big talking point in the competition. Was it right that they do it? Was it a concern of yours?
Yeah, well, for 15 years this dialogue's been taking place between the umpiring fraternity, the AFL, and then, by extension, the playing group. And I think probably it's been trickling along, and we've been seeing an increased level of incidents. We've almost doubled this year what we were last year. We're on track for 100 avoidable umpire contact moments in game. And the serious nature of those contacts has been increasing, and so something had to give, Gary.
So people might roll their eyes, but really this is a workplace OH&S issue, isn't it? I mean, umpires aren't playing the game of AFL. They're trying to do their job, and if they're finishing up getting hurt, that's the reason why they're trying to implement this for the umpires, aren't they?
Yeah, and Joe, you're spot on. So, like, if we all agree that concussion is a serious injury, it's a brain injury. We've had, in the last 12 months, 4 umpires suffer concussion and 1 umpire have a broken arm as a result of this sort of stuff. And so I think we can all agree that we don't want anyone suffering from a concussion. OK,
so there's a list of players that have got 4, 3, 2 strikes, if you like, from an umpiring point of view. And one of those is Matthew Rowell, who becomes the high-profile flag, the torchbearer for this, if you like. And then he goes out and plays on the weekend in a manner that Joey just described, as he called it beautifully. So watching that, I don't know if you're watching it live, but you've since seen it, what were your thoughts?
I did watch it live. I was doing radio at the game, and I was taking great notice. I also wanted to see what his oppo was doing, you know, in terms of Setterfield's role and how the umpires were handling that. Because I think, not for umpire contact, but for more broadly, I think umpires can do more for the ball winner, particularly in and around stoppage, where they're being held, etc. I don't think anyone wants Matt Rowell to change who he is as a person and how he plays. He's an incredible player. No. But I think what we do want to see from everybody is buy-in and collaboration, Gary, to avoid avoidable contact.
So do you think he didn't buy in on the weekend?
Well, he didn't make any contact. He's still setting up behind the umpire, but I know that Matt's aware of what his responsibilities are. So
he's just playing a dangerous game?
He is, and ultimately he gets to make that choice. I think for the betterment of everybody out there, it'd be wonderful if he gave another metre, let the umpire get out of the road so that he can get on and play the game.
Yeah.
Do you think the way that centre bounce is now, the ruckmen are competing in centre bounce, where they're no longer running and jumping and they're basically standing next to each other and wrestling, you now know 9 times out of 10 that ball is falling at their chest where Matt Rowell wants to be, but that is also where the umpire is backing out. Do you think that is something that the AFL, for a bigger picture, need to look at?
I think it's an unconscious or an unintended response to the change in what they can and can't do at centre bounce. So rather than the big jumpers, you've got the big strong boppers in there wrestling in the middle and tapping to their face, at their toes there. So there's an increased incidence, I would suspect, of the ball at the front there, which is exactly where those guys are trying to get their head in first.
Jack McRae, you mentioned in the ad break, he's had 4, all of them this year at St Kilda.
So I think my understanding is that at least 3 of those have occurred in 1 year. And so what that does, I mean, could it be just a little bit unlucky, or is it more to do with structure and coaching at stoppage from one club to the next?
What happens to an umpire when you've been involved? We're going to show one here, and a heavy one. What happens to your psyche?
Yeah, so, I mean, I had 4 teeth whacked into the back of my head in a game in the VFL, but that one there from Troy Cook, I still feel that today when it gets cold, Gary.
He's a big... he was tough. He's strong.
There's a lot of him.
Can we see that again? Hopefully we can show that again. So did he come off the wing? You're still picking yourself up here in the middle.
Yeah, so centre bounce, round 22, and yeah, he didn't see me from 25 metres away, which is which is interesting. But yeah, look, you just undertake your role, but you are mindful, like you can't see behind you. So I think the really important thing for our umpires to do at centre bounce is execute the skill and make sure you go out straight. Yep. Then you've done your bit.
Right. What about the other way around? What about the umpire's duty of care to look out for the players?
Yeah, and that's a massive role. So I said at the start, it's a safety issue and it's a collaboration between the players and the umpires, you know. And so I think predominantly around the ground, we'll see some vision shortly, and we'll see some opportunities where I think umpiring can evolve and adapt to do their part.
Before we get to that vision, Gaz, you were all over this over 10 years ago. 2015, you were ruthless on the umpires because there was an article that you wrote talking about that maybe that Ray Chamberlain should be fined. You wanted the umpire fine for running into Trent Jamont. So we'll take a look at the vision in a moment. So, yeah, ruthless. You got
that Benny Waterworth wrote that. He must have...
I was quoting you, sorry. He was quoting you. But talk us through this incident, Ray, and did anything come of it from your perspective? Do the umpires get sanctioned internally or anything like that for contact?
You don't get sanctioned, but obviously you're reviewing what you do. I apologise to Trent, who's a ripping fellow. And
good hip and shoulder.
That is your fault, though.
That is 100. No, that is. And so, Gary, if we had a little bit more vision, I'm trying to get into the set kick, and they come to get. There was an opening, and he closed, and I didn't get through it. You've been riding me like a beaten favourite for a decade.
True. OK, so which gets to the point where the solution in terms of umpire positioning, Joe and I have never done it, so we've got no idea. Brad Scott's spoken about it passionately over the last 3 days about his want to have them outside the corridor. You've had a look. Help us out. Educate us at home.
So the context is this, OK? 360-degree game, 180 metres in length. 36 players on the field, 10 officials, there's trainers, there's photographers, the interchange areas like Flinders Street on a Friday. So that's the environment that we're operating within. And so what umpiring has been doing for over the last 15 years is amending position in accordance with what's happening with ball movement to try and get themselves out of the road. We'll see some vision come up here, and it's not best practice, but I want to show two examples. One where they do a great job, where the umpires, you'll see them actually get outside of play. So the umpires will do that, be doing it for 15 years. And then there'll be a situation where we'll freeze it shortly and the umpires don't do enough, in my opinion. This is to highlight where that's where the kicker is. You need an umpire there, and you need an umpire where the catcher is to effectively umpire. So the ball transitions in 4 seconds down the field there, and it's gone 110 metres. You'll see umpire at the bottom of screen outside play. But, of course, the ball gets transitioned. So he's got to go across to the other side of the ground, and now he's actually inside play. But once the kick takes place, he will do his best to get outside play again and avoid blocking up the areas.
What about the one in the middle?
Yep, so that's a really interesting exit kick there. So when it's a fast play, Gary, they'll try and... there's an opportunity to hit the 45, and so your umpire, it's incumbent upon them to look around. But when it's a slow play, they generally go up the line or loop around backwards and across the other side. This example here, the ball will go inside 50 and then it's going to bounce back out. And I want to take that opportunity to have a look at our two mid-zone umpires and where I think there's an opportunity for umpiring.
So they want to come back through the middle, yeah, if they can.
So if we freeze it there, what I'd like us to be able to do is you'll see the umpire at the bottom of the screen.
He's in the right spot?
He's going to get outside of play, doing exactly what we'd like him to do. Then there's the next umpire behind the behind post, actually, there. But what I like about that is that he is in line with the ball carrier. So if he's not in the kicking lane. He's not going to be in the 45 if they try to go fast and aggressive. So that's safe there. But our next umpire up, I'd like to see that umpire back 20 metres on the other side of the centre circle. And the reason for that is all the players then will be in front of that umpire and within their peripheral vision, and then they won't run into anybody. And what happens, Joe, is that umpire actually has nothing to do unless it's a long dump kick up the line. And he has time in that circumstance to run into position.
If he needs to.
And he's got everyone in front of him. So that, for me, in terms of corridor activation of umpiring, is an opportunity for improvement for our umpires.
And so that would appease the Brad Scotts who are saying, get out of there. That's the area we want to go to.
Oh, exactly. And I agree with Brad in that instance. If we just look at the Caddy incident from the weekend, what that highlights is that there will be times where the umpires can't get outside play like we demonstrated in the end zones, and sometimes, due to 36 players, 10 umpires, etc., there are going to be contact. It was a total accident, and no one should be held accountable for that.
Very quick one before we let you go. The concussion situation now where players get a head knock, you see them on the ground, they get up, they maybe stumble. Stupidly, they don't come off the ground for whatever reason, and that's the number one problem. Is there a role for umpires in this?
So we've only got one qualified medical practitioner out of the 42 umpires. They only have one. And so I believe that the umpires, if you see somebody who's clearly hurt, you'll stop the game. The number one rule for umpires is to ensure the game is played in a fair and safe manner. But I don't think it should be the umpire's responsibility to instruct the player to leave the field.